Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meshery Build and Release call. This call happens every other week, and so as a recurring theme we like folks to introduce themselves. So anyone who's new on the call, I see a few new names. So Mubarak, is this your first time on the call? If you have any microphone problems, then
Yeah, hello.
okay.
Yeah, this is my first
Yeah.
time on the call. My name is
Okay.
Mubarak. Good evening. Good day. My name is Mubarak. I'm a DevOps engineer. So looking forward to contribute to Meshery. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, nice having you here. Uh, Okay. Next up is, I guess, Arunima, is this your first time on the call, on the build and release call?
Um, yes, it is my first time. So, hello, my name is Arunima Chaudhary, and I'm currently an MLH fellow in the software engineering track, and I'm also a final year student in computer science. And yeah, I have been contributing to Meshery website and the Layer 5 website. And yeah, this is my first time in the call.
Nice having you, Arunima.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sekun, is this your first time as well?
Yeah, sure. Hello, my name is Sakairin Shagun. I'm a DevOps engineer at Lafarge Africa, so I'm looking to contribute to Layer 5 Mastery. Thank you.
That was really concise. Thank you for your introduction. Next up, I think Harsh, this I'm seeing your face also for the first time. So
Yeah, hi. My name is Harsh. I'm currently working as a cloud DevOps engineer in a Bangalore-based startup. So, like, it's my first time in the meet.
okay, have you gotten your hands around any of the issues or PRs yet, or?
No. It's my first time. Yesterday I joined one call. It was development call, and today also I joined the newcomers call. And there Gaurav told me about like what we would be discussing about today. So like we can start with workflows and all those, so, like how things are working. So yes.
Yeah. Okay, so and that was a really nice introduction. Thank you. Hope you find some issues here. So, okay, so I think we should get started now. So, okay, Ali, is this your first time as well? I think I was just about to miss you. So, if you have any microphone problems, you can always introduce yourself in the chat. Okay. So the first item we have is from Nishant. Is Nishant on the call? Nishant, would you like to talk about what this issue is?
Yeah. I'll share my screen. Yeah. So I opened this issue. This is the probably the last cleanup issue that we need to like completely migrate to homebrew core repository and never worry about it again. So to give a bit of context, we recently migrated our Meshery CTL release from our own custom Meshery tab to homebrew core, and and yeah, so the way homebrew works is each package that needs to be published has a formula. So this is the Meshery CTL's formula. So this is how a formula looks like in homebrew. So we need to provide the description, all this metadata, and this is auto-generated by homebrew, and we need to give it instructions on how to build the Meshery CTL binary. And these are some tests that we need to define that are used by homebrew to check whether or not the binary is successfully built or not and is working as expected. So there are 3 tests right now. The first one checks if Meshery CTL version gives the correct output, and if Meshery system channel view gives channels table, and if Meshery system start gives out this error or not. So I'll describe what the issue is now. So as you can see in this, so the way Meshery shows the version, what version is the Meshery is by passing a flag. So as you can see in this formula that we pass the version flag, and we input this version variable here in the flags. So and you may also notice that we don't have a version version property here in the formula. So what Homebrew does is it uses this git tag, that is v 0.6.22, and it automatically parses it and calculates a version and passes it here. So this works very fine in most of the cases, but in cases where the version becomes long, and for example, we had this version some time ago, 0.6.0-rc.6ff. So Homebrew's parser logic was not able to parse this correctly, and I think the version detected by it was 0.6.0/rc. It ignored this part. So in cases like this, what we need to do is we need to pass a version property manually in the formula, and then it uses this version property to determine this version. So then again, everything starts working. But so with every Meshery release, our workflows use a GitHub action that automatically update this formula. And if there's a version property, it updates the version property as well. If there's not, it doesn't. So in Homebrew's, yeah, so this was a PR in which the version went from being extremely long to a simpler one in Meshery. So what happened is Homebrew CI checks if there is a version flag, and if it can parse the version correctly from the git tag, it throws an error that why have you defined a version property if I'm able to correctly identify the version. So that is why Homebrew's CI was erroring. So one of their maintainers manually removed our version flag, and yeah, they merged the PR, and it is fine because the version is simple in this case. But what will happen in future if we again have versions like this, then we may need to manually go there and go to the pull request created by our GitHub action, and then again add the version property ourselves. So otherwise, when someone will install the Meshery binary and will do Meshery version, the version showed will be incorrect. And yeah, so this is what we need to do. So we need to make sure that our workflows automatically add the version property and remove it and add it when it's required and remove it when it's not required. So I've not given it much thought, but this is the initial idea that I had, is that we can altogether make a different fork of this GitHub action that we are using and add this logic to it. Yeah. So
by the way, what is the problem of always specifying the version?
So Homebrew's CI errors that if I can parse git tag, then you shouldn't specify a version property. It is Homebrew's.
So if it fails to parse, then it defaults back to.
Yeah. So what it does is it parses this and sees the version, and if it's equal to this thing, then it will error. So it will error saying that this version is equal to the tag one, so you don't need to specify a version yourself. In this case, it was working fine because this was it was passing it incorrectly and our version was different, so it said yeah, all right. But as soon as our tag went simpler, then it says that it said that it's not required anymore, so then it started erroring. So in future, if there would be more, like the release titles would be longer, then it would be a problem again.
Okay, so what do you think where should we invest our energy, to have that fork or to have that workflow that adds this extra consideration where we can manually override the version and it is also automatically passed in the other cases? What's the, like, if we go with the fork approach, then like will that
the fork approach is like, I didn't mention in two different approaches. I meant that to modify our workflows, we are actually using this GitHub action to deal with everything. So I think we'll need to make changes here, or like if we can add our own script in Meshery repo that will additionally run after this action has run and verify if the version is needed or not. That will also be fine. So I'm not invested much time, so I don't know what would be simpler as of now. Yeah.
Lee, do you have any suggestions here?
Well, a question to be, I hadn't given it thought either. But if it fails currently, if we go to make a release, I mean, the issue is that the homebrew team doesn't adhere to Semver fully, and because of their shortness, because of their lack of like adherence to that spec, which is really odd that they have any requirement around it, considering how many like thousands of different packages they centralize and help republish into a package manager. It's super funky to think that they have any amount of hiccups with respect to what the versions are that people use. Anyway, if we don't use one, if we end up using a longer Semver compliant version number than their system affords for, then for that particular release, a stable release in this case, we would go missing a
the version would be incomplete. Like when users would do Meshery CTL version, I think the version there would be not the correct, not the one that we would expect. It would be shorter. I think it would strip some part.
Yep. Alternatively, do you have an example of the constraints that they impose? Perhaps we could stay within those constraints.
Constraints as in no, I haven't went through their logic of parsing the version. I just know that they don't parse this correctly. The versions like this.
Past the, did they parse up to the RC but not past the RC? Is that it? Or they on?
Yeah, as far as I remember, that's the case.
Okay.
But again, that I'm not completely 100% sure because it was a long time. I don't exactly.
So Nishant is doing the right thing. Like he did a great service to the project. It had been a couple of years that we've been asking for someone to help us get the project's CLI, Meshery CTL, into the core packages, formulas, recipes, whatever the terminology is for homebrew, such that when someone wants to install Meshery CLI, it's a really pleasant experience. It's a native experience. They just say brew install Meshery CTL. That's it. They can. They didn't have to first add the Meshery repo or the layer 5 repo. So this is good. The caveat is that Meshery CTL and the publishing of it has to fall within their parameters, and their parameters seem to be a little tight on versioning. So Nishant is being asked to focus elsewhere, but he has documented this quite well. So this is a juicy point of consideration for the rest of the folks on the call. Nishant is here actually presenting it to all of us, all of the rest of us. Nishant is working on a different project. I don't know. I am sorry to say this is one of the few times where I say, I don't know that I don't have a good idea off the top of my head. But it might be, one of them is, geez, maybe we can stay within the confines of what they allow and just pay attention to that as we go to do releases. I think that's a first good research item for anyone who wants to pick this up. It's just what's allowed, within using the links that are provided here. If we try to adhere to their scheme, what does that look like?
I tried searching when I was working on this, migrating this, but I couldn't find anything. I don't know if they might have added something or I might have missed something, but I think people may need to look in the code only, I think, to know how they parse what's the code. They say that, I think somewhere they mentioned that they follow semantic versioning, but
yeah, but they obviously don't, or not to the degree that, is this of interest to anyone on the call? This is one of those kind of back burner items that isn't critical for us to get done quickly. But it's one of those things that will inevitably bite us at some point when we're doing an alpha release and we're putting in the tag, in the version tag. It would be something like v06.50-alpha1, like the first alpha release of 6.50 or 7.0. And it'll be in that moment where we'll be like, geez, yeah, remember 4 months ago when we talked about this? Anyway, there's some lead time. So this can be a nice issue for someone to pick up. So this does not require you to know Golang or React or really any language. This is a perfect CI. This squarely fits like right within CI. You might have to read some regex, I don't know, but anybody want to give this a go? It's a well-documented issue.
I will paste the link of this issue in the chat. So if you want to take this up later after giving some consideration, then you can also do that. So here's the issue.
Yeah. As you all think about it, and as Ashish moves on to the next agenda item, I'll say this: hey, you're here, most of you or all of you, because this is not the community where a couple of things happen. This is not the community where you get made fun of for saying you don't know something, or for asking a question, or for making a mistake, because I do all three of those things every day, and so did the rest of us. So don't be concerned there. There's also a community in which we collectively learn. So I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't know what the answer is. I'd love for someone to teach it to me.
Yeah. So thank you, Nishant. And if anyone would want to take this issue up, they can. If you have any further doubts regarding this, you can also ask on the Meshery CI Slack channel. You can tag me or other folks, and we'll be happy to answer. So moving on to the next item, Lee, would you like to talk about this workflow that you added?
Oh yeah, sure. Just before I do, I have one more thing to add to what we were just saying. In this community, this is also not the community where you get a free ride, which is to say, if you're on this call, it's fine that you're just listening in. But if you say that you want to contribute, you'll be made to at some point. You'll be asked to. So probably toward the end of the call, I'm going to circle back and call out names for anyone who might like to pick up that issue. That's how we do. Also, moreover, if you have a webcam, please turn it on, unless you don't have a shirt on. But otherwise, please turn it on. We'd like to see you. Be great to. Another thing, just as we're going over rules, if you don't have your last name in Zoom, please put your last name in Zoom so we can get to know you. I can't tell you how many Adityas I know. I counted it recently, just in this community. It was in the 70s. There's a lot of Adityas out there. We might even have one on this call. We do have one on this call. What do you know? Mubarak, will you please put your last name into Zoom? Pretty please. On the next agenda item, so there's a new workflow that's up for review. This workflow is for purposes of publishing something that we've been working on for quite some while, the community has, and that's a playground. It's a hosted instance of Meshery. So if you've been to the meshery.io website, you might have seen a link to a playground. It will take you to play.meshery.io. The page itself is just a placeholder for what will hopefully soon be an interactive environment in which there's a hosted instance of Meshery running so that people can come play with the project, sure, learn about the project, but also, boy, we need dark mode support on this page, don't we? But also, what else? To play with the project, play with other cloud native components. Since Meshery manages a lot of other cloud native infrastructure, this particular environment will be quite convenient for learning what those things are about. Now, initially in this environment, it'll be interactive, but it'll also be, what's the right? Well, it won't be read only. It just won't let you deploy infrastructure. So it'll let you visually configure and manage, visually configure and design, even collaboratively at some point, design infrastructure. But if you want to click the deploy button, you'll have to just run Meshery locally, and the same designs that you would have created in this playground will be available when you sign into Meshery locally. And that's so that in that hosted environment, if Meshery is allowed to deploy cloud native infrastructure, cloud native workloads to Kubernetes, that people don't bump into each other in the same sandbox is one. Two, so that someone doesn't mine Bitcoins for free. We charge for mining Bitcoins. But yep, so that's what that workflow is. This workflow will take a build of Meshery. Anytime that there's a Meshery release, it will tag, add an extra container image tag to that release. And Azure has given the project 10,000 credits to do a few things between Meshery and Service Mesh Performance, one of the other projects that the community stewards, and to use those credits to help advance the project. And so one of the ways that we want to help advance the project is having a playground. And so there's this particular continuous deployment portion is what we're looking at. And it's just simply a script or simply an SSH, a GitHub action that runs SSH to SSH into an Azure VM, and simply a VM that's running Docker, and simply start just the Meshery server container. That Meshery server container will have the Meshery UI and Meshery server. I don't know that the environment that we will bother deploying all of the Meshery adapters there. But we'll see.
Yeah, for the sake of because as long as the deploy button is disabled, I don't think we need the adapters there. So yeah, nice. Okay, yeah, nice update. Moving on to the next item. So there are a bunch of failing UI E2E tests, and I've been seeing these tests. Abhi or Mario, would you like to talk about why these tests are failing so frequently? In most PRs, I see the same set of tests failing.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Okay. Just one sec. Yeah. So, yep. So, yes. So, I was just inspecting what's the reason of the failing UI to test, and that's the latest PR that I'm into. I mean, that's the one of the latest PR in the field of UI. So there has been two workflows that are being that is failing right now: integration test and UI end-to-end test. And the reason for both the workflows are, the reason behind this is different from each other. And there has been, one of the reason that this workflow right now you're seeing here is a UI end-to-end test workflow, and this is failing because mean, the
dependencies, right?
origin of no, it's not about dependency. It's just about uh, in the make file. I mean, there is inconsistency in the node versions. So as you know, like in the node 18,
Mhm.
there has been some updates that allows. I mean that has an open SSL update that needs some other flag to run successfully, as far as I know right now. So there has been two different workflows, one for building next step. So this build next step, what it is using is it is using v16 dot something. So that's being directly derived from the GitHub secrets, and in the GitHub secrets it's been set that what we use for building any node project in the UI is v16.xx. And in the recent update and in the Docker build, what we have here is, let me grab the Docker build. Yes. So in the Docker build, we use node LTS. So node LTS means latest, the one of the latest node uh, binary with the LTS support, long-term support. So that is node 18.xx, right? So node 18.xx requires that flag with open SSL legacy update to, build the project successfully, and node 16 doesn't. So there has been that issue where in order to fix, because with the latest updated node, our Docker build started failing. So what Aditya did is that he added the he added that flag which is written here, open SSL legacy provider. What it's allowing is that it is allowing to use the legacy open SSL provider that is used by node v16. So with that using, with that thing, the build with node 18 is now passing. So that's why we are not getting any Docker build failures, but we are getting failures in the building next step because that is using node 16, and node 16 doesn't understand what this flag is. So that's why,
Basically,
the,
that flag only needs to be passed in the Docker, not in when the agent runs the script directly locally. I mean, inside the agent without Docker, because it's
I
another
don't,
node version. So there's inconsistencies between how we build
the
Docker and
main, yeah, the main cause is inconsistency, and there is nothing else like getting
the
into
easiest fix
consistent.
is to make it consistent. So sorry to interrupt. We should
Yeah.
make our YAML use the same version as Docker build, and I guess that'll help us not have a diverging scripts, because else we would have to have what is the command that is failing here? Is it npm
It is
build
next
or
build.
next? So we would have to have one for it's either build or export, but one of those. I think it's in the build one, run build. So we would have to have build agent and build Docker, and I mean that's a recipe for disaster. Because then we'll have to maintain both, and then we have to, I don't know, then our make scripts, it's just a mess. So if my suggestion is to make, do you have the YAML where we're running this from? Both tests. Can you show that? I'm trying to open it up, but I'm having some VPN problems. Doesn't let
Most
me
probably
open
this is yeah,
there.
I
So
think
there should be something that
this is
sets
the
the
VP.
node version
Yeah, there
somewhere.
it's
If we
here.
change the secret, we would make it
It's
work.
now 16 that yes, yes.
Is there a reason with for like can we use 18 there?
Yeah, maybe we can use it 18 because the 18, the Docker uses it, and we haven't reported any issues with the Docker extension build. So
Yeah. If we get some problem,
another
I don't
possible
think.
reason for that no report in error is because we were using latest latest next version, latest MUI version, everything is latest there. So another thing is that we are using this flag that is successfully building with node 18. I don't know if it is required for us right now. I mean, if we are abiding the changes that they have did positively. So that these are the different considerations that we need to follow along. before updating this make strip sorry this
The
make file.
version. Mhm.
Okay. Anyone else have any other feedback? So I guess we have converged on the solution, right? So the last.
Definitely, I don't know if we require to have LTS right here, because we can either use Node 18 if we are going to do, or Node 16. I mean, no, not 16, because we are just planning to move to Node 18, so it's fine if we do it right now instead of going back to Node 16. So instead of LTS, there should be Node 18 first of all, so that we are these type of tests don't fail that abruptly, and with the need of quick fix, we break something else. So yeah, that's one of the thing.
Another take, yeah, I agree with setting it to 18, but in first place, is there a good reason we chose LTS as this from? Like I guess it's just it just auto updates and we get like the latest, but that's not always good because there's some security or other fixes, but then usually in open source there's like a estimate time about, I think it's 30 days, where new vulnerabilities are like introduced. So sometimes it's better to be really consistent, like pin the exact versions of your dependencies, and because that this image could, the LTS one, it could be updated, and then we'll just get other things breaking, or things being vulnerable to, I don't know, attacks. Like usually it should be like even though it's a bit more of effort, it's better to like do updates on purpose, right? Like always be in control of what's being deployed version wise, and other dependencies that we can't control until we pin the node version, for example. So I guess we could set it to 18 here, and that'll help us not have surprises like this one. Like we didn't, no, it was, I don't feel it was something in our code. Probably the LTS image just bumped to 18, and that's something we like that label. Now it points to another. I mean, that's the only explanation I could find, because I didn't notice any code on our side that could like cause the issue, which made us add the flag in the first place. Unless anyone has like some other insightful opinion on that. Which
yeah, you're right on that point. Other than that, hello.
And we maintain that.
Hi, this is Adina. You want to add something? Feel free to take the spot.
Just as a general thing, so I don't think that matters. I think building can be used with even experimental Node.js version. Only when it is deployed, it is matter. Like when it is running, we can have any LTS version, any yes. Usually the LTS versions, they have the security patches most of the time. Also, an extra question: does Next needs its binary when it is deployed, or not? Do we need anything? I'm just saying that we should have separated the build content versus the deployment content. And sorry for if I'm out of the topic or out of the I did not look. There is already everything in place.
Yep. Actually, when the next build command executes, it just builds everything from the scratch, from the source code that you provide, and it doesn't depend on any binary. So definitely, it's one of the fundamental process towards building the final product. So,
but she means on the node version that is running. That is a binary, right? There's maybe not a binary per se, but it's like
yeah,
something that needs to be
the
present?
node version should be present, and it would be present in the form of a binary. It
Does
would be
anyone don't
executed.
know if the deployment is separately than the build?
Oh no, we build an image and we push it, and then when it's when someone installs.
My question doesn't make sense at all. It is okay if it is out of the question, out of the context.
Yeah, I don't think there's like silly questions. Like I think it's a good point to bring up that when we're building Docker, well, there's image layers. So the file system and like what comes bundled. I mean, it has certain binaries, right? And what we're seeing here is that there's this argument that we added to fix something, and then it broke something else. So in order to, I mean, it's fine to use an LTS, but it wouldn't hurt whenever we want to upgrade from 18 to something else. My opinion is that it should be something conscious, and we should allocate some time, because even if our build of our test doesn't break, there's always unknowns that like we want to be aware that just because we don't own the node LTS image, so it's like open source. It could get that tag could point to something else or over time, and it's I think it's more it tends to change more than a specific version, right? Although there could be changes. Now it's not 18, it's 18.1.2, but at least it should be like some patching, some minor changes. And whenever we feel we need to upgrade, instead of pointing to LTS, because LTS has a certain window. I think it's like a year and a half or node or something, whatever date, but the LTS keeps moving. So it's long-term support, but there's a point that it'll no longer be supported like 18 per se, and then we would be experiencing some other problems. So basically that's my take. Like I mean, as long as for now we want to have consistency so that both Docker build and the tests, there's also redundancy, like to be honest, like if Lee did mention that the other time. We could schedule some time to look in. For now, let's just fix it, but we'll open a ticket to, I mean, not a ticket, an issue to address how we can avoid having that built in multiple places. Like why can we just pull the image we already built, correct? Rightly? If not, then what's the point of having an image?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Antoinette Caldwell is one of the contributors who's interested in trying
improving.
to optimize some of the, like stop checking out the repo like 4 times in the same workflow or that kind of a thing. Yeah, to Mario's point, to commentate on that a little bit is like, yep. Well, what Adina said is a good call outs, and then what Mario is saying is, from my perspective, is a good call out, and it's a hard one, or I think it's one where there are pros and cons to drawing the line either way. And if you're in an environment where you have folks that are pretty consistent in their commitment to, like curating and kind of reviewing the builds and the workflows and things, then it might be advantageous to you to pin to the specific artifacts, to the specific components that you want to use. It's a safer environment. It's a conscientious thing. It's purposeful. You get less surprises, etc. If you're in an environment where you have tons and tons of workflows and not that many people who are committed to keeping track of it, it's like, well, you might consider that, well, we're going to be in the mix of it anyway. Like we're going to, so let's just go on latest. And I'm not saying that we're in one versus the next. I'm just trying to highlight that, like, geez, yeah, it's kind of is sort of this like, well,
contextual, like what scenario would we like better? And are we like, can we commit to having that consciousness, right? When we work, contribute.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to the next item, I guess the next item is all basically it was related to the same thing and it has already been discussed. So moving on to the next item. So Aditya, you mentioned few things about compatibility matrix in yesterday's call. Would you like to? Is there any progress on that? If not, then also because would you like to showcase your work up until now?
Yeah, okay. So I have been working on consolidation of compatible metrics on supported platforms page. Earlier, we used to have the compatible metrics in separate page that was hidden from the main page, and a supported platform page which shows what versions of platforms is supported. But now we have like implemented in such a way that both the compatible metrics and this platform is merged to one single page. And yeah, this is how it looks like. If we go to Kubernetes, we can see all the versions and all the Meshery adapters that these are compatible with, and the percentages also. We currently don't have a metrics for Docker and Mac and Windows, but yeah, we just consolidate everything in one page. So yeah, that was the work. And I saw a comment regarding the redirect, like many links up like it's redirecting to this particular compatible matrix page. And there was a request to make all the link to redirect to this page. So I just wanted to ask that, what about the integration test? Like, we will not show this? Like, should I just redirect all the link that are pointing to this particular page to the supported platform page? Because then users will not be able to see integration tests.
Ask your question one more time.
You said that redirect links that are pointing to this particular page to the supported platforms page, right?
Yeah, or you know what? I didn't. So for everyone's context, like we run all kinds of integration tests, and we as we run those tests across the various repos, Subedi, and Ashish and Sikranda, and like a lot of people have helped ensure that we're able to aggregate the results of all the tests and in real time, like push the test results to the Meshery docs. And so every time a test runs, results are pushed to the docs and the docs refresh. So like the docs are pretty they're being updated continuously, especially in this area. Now there's just a ton of information, and Subedi in particular, he's worked with a few folks, but he in particular has helped ensure that there's information architecture happening here where the information is aggregated and is drillable. So this is kind of the top level compatibility matrix view right here. And as Subedi, I had thought, or I was ignorant to the fact that there are, unto your latest work, that there are still two individual pages. I had just assumed that you had deleted one and we're like consolidating into one UX, and I thought it was the other page, the supported platforms page. And that's where I was saying, oh, if you're going to delete that one, you might just want to put in a redirect just so that any links that we're pointing to it don't break. I certainly would like for others on the call, like Harsh or others, to give an opinion here, because I think everyone's opinion on this is pretty valid, which is, Subedi, do you want to make the proposal again, or kind of show the difference between the two pages? They're really showing the same information, right? But just two different ways.
Yeah, this is the compatible matches is same, but this page also shows the integration test, like the latest integration test. And while supported, the current implementation just shows the platform and the compatibility metrics, and not the integration test. So I think we can keep two separate pages and then redirect compatible metrics, like any link that states compatible metrics to this page, and maybe change the link for this to integration test, and possibly remove this compatible matrix from this page. Is that okay?
Yes. Does anybody else have an opinion on that? You know, like the title of the pages, the benefit of having 2 pages is that you can present the information a little bit differently and more like concisely toward what the user might be wanting to know. At a high level, if someone goes to look at the compatibility, the supported platforms, if the information that's presented is largely in context of what platforms can Meshery as a deployment like run on, and what environments is Meshery CTL compatible with? Like, what environments is Meshery's components compatible with? What platforms are supported? What are the supported platforms? If you hold that question in your mind and look at that page, and then separately, if you hold a different question in your mind and look at the compatibility matrix page, and the question is not about deployment of Meshery itself and where Meshery can run, but if the question is about what systems does Meshery as a management plane, as a cloud native manager, what systems does it integrate with, and at what versions, and what is that level of compatibility? Those become, they're very similar, but 2 different questions. Oh, can I run Meshery on Windows? Or that's one question, right, for supported platforms. But the other question might be, oh, will Meshery deploy the latest version of Istio? Or like, yeah. So I would certainly be in favor of 2 pages if you accentuate the answers to those 2 questions, in terms of the presentation of the information. That will help clarify, I think, and not potentially not confuse people as they look at the same information, but as they look at the same information twice.
So,
yeah, because if you consider where can you deploy Meshery, what platforms are supported, what infrastructure can Meshery manage? Because if you if you combine them into one and you say, oh, Meshery is compatible with Docker desktop such and such, because there's a Docker desktop, there's a Docker extension for Meshery. It's like, oh, it's compatible with this version. That's great. That's like a Meshery deployment question. I'm still talking because you're not interrupting me and saying, yeah, I get it.
I didn't get it completely, but as you said that a user can ask questions about like, is Meshery Istio deployable in the latest version? So that thing is like properly represented by this integration test table. So I think my proposal to, like remove this comparative matrix from this page and just show the integration test would be good enough. Like user can see, like we'll change the heading to integration test. And user can see all the informations like as they required.
Hey, can anyone else articulate what I had said slightly differently?
Hello, sorry. I'm kind of confused too. I think you should go again. I think you should go again.
Yeah, I knew it. It's me. It's usually Subedi. Usually he's the one that's all confused. No. Yep. All right. There are 2 pages within Meshery docs. One of the pages is called supported platforms, and another page is called compatibility matrix. There had been an open question as to whether or not these 2 pages should just be consolidated into one, because they largely present the same information today. And Subedi was thinking, hey, they should stay as 2. And to help reinforce that direction, I was suggesting that it really can make a lot of sense to have 2 pages if one of them answers the question, much more so answers the question of this, like, I'm a Meshery user. I'd like to go deploy Meshery. What platforms can I deploy Meshery on? Maybe I'm running Windows and Docker Desktop. Does that work for this Windows version and this, that's good. There's a similar but different question of like, hey, I'm already running Meshery. It's running somewhere, who cares where, but I want it to manage my cloud native infrastructure. It's a multi-Kubernetes manager. I'm sorry, it's a multi-Kubernetes cluster manager. But I know that in my Kubernetes clusters, I'm running Argo CD version such and such. I'm running Prometheus such and such, and Jaeger, and my own custom workloads. And I'm running Kubernetes 125. So the question is, great, Meshery does these cool things. It does performance tests. It lets me visually design and configure my infrastructure. Good. But I want to know, does it work with my infrastructure? And I just said it's running Prometheus this and Argo that. And so then the question that I have, that second question I have is Meshery compatible with the infrastructure that I want it to manage? The features that I want to use, like performance management, are Meshery's features going to work for that environment? 2 different questions. They sound really similar. But you could say, Meshery, where can you run it? You can run it on Raspberry Pi. That's it. Like, that could be the answer. It's like, oh, geez, okay, well, okay, fine, whatever. But what can you do with it? Well, you can manage Mac systems and Linux systems and Kubernetes and all this other 2 totally different questions. Like, they're very related right now because the information are presented very similarly. And I'm saying, hey, if you hold those 2 questions in your mind and try to answer those 2 with the information that's presented, I think you'll have a really strong case for why you have 2 different pages.
Hello. So can I just say something? In my experience of reading docs, I feel that people try to sneak the information together. I think that you should leave it at 2 different. You should leave it at compatibility and then integration, because there are many scenarios outside. Then we should stay that way instead of fixing it to one, because it's like an equation. There are many different outcomes that the person that reading the docs wants to do. So I feel you should leave it at the 2 different pages. That was my own. Yeah.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Yeah. Even if what you said, not only do I agree with what you said, but had it been something really bad, yeah, thanks for just expressing an opinion. It just helps move so Subedi, please consider his feedback.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Aditya. So moving on to the next item, it was August's item, but this PR was merged as well, and it was regarding an update in the he was adding another Kubernetes version here, as well as changing few tags here, and this workflow also was not taking into account the adapter name, so he added that as a step. So this PR is merged. Okay, so quickly moving on to the next item, which is the update to multi-platform build workflow. And this was the issue created, and as the issue was, so since Pranav is not here, I'll explain the issue on his behalf. So he already had a PR over on here, so this PR was to be replicated across the other adapters as well. So in Istio, this was this contributor has taken the initiative to have to propagate these changes. So generally, whenever we have a change, usually in one adapter, this needs to be propagated in almost all the adapters. So this is already been done in console, and I think the another one is Istio. version was not being passed, and due to which, so this version that is passed in here at the build time, this version is then reflected when someone clicks on the adapter chips on the Meshery UI. And since this version wasn't being passed, the version wasn't reflected on the UI. So in the other adapters, like if this change isn't already there in other adapters, you can take this up. It's like pretty straightforward thing. Just these two lines of code change is needed over here. So this would help us to have that version field added. So yeah, this was a small task. Okay, so this is the Meshery test plan, and we have a lot of components under test, including Meshery CTL. We have all bunch of adapters, and in Meshery server also there are UI E2E tests, and then there are recently there was this another E2E test added, similar to the one in the adapters. So as we move to supporting more and more cloud native components, we need more. Basically, inside of each of our adapters, we need. I'll give a little bit of context before I start speaking anything, so that people are not lost on me. So basically, the compatibility matrix that you just saw is directly related to what I'm going to talk about here. So all that. So we in the adapters we run tests, and there we try to deploy things. And right now mostly those things are just control planes. So for each of the service mesh adapters, we try to deploy a service mesh, that specific service mesh, and if that deployment is successful, then we call it a day, and we say that okay, at least the bare minimum is we can deploy the service mesh. But actually we need more than that. So in case of Istio, if you were to see the compatibility matrix, you would find that for the Istio adapter over here. Okay, so here you can see that okay, we are running tests for the, in our test we are making assertions, and these assertions are after deploying the things, what things came up. So the Istio pod comes up, the egress gateway, ingress gateway, these three things come up. And then you would also see the test where the details, product page, rating. So this is your generic book info app. So we try to deploy the book info app also. So just to make sure that virtual service and destination rule, those things are also being deployed properly by the adapter. But this thing is only present right now in the Istio adapter, and we need to propagate this change in other adapters as well. A few contributors actually took this, for example, in Linkerd adapter. We need the same change done, and I think there is already an open issue over here. Okay, I guess not. Yeah, so basically what the ask is that if you go inside .github, inside of workflows here, you will find that there is a e2e test.yaml, and inside of e2e test.yaml here we set our pattern file. A pattern file is the format of deployment that Meshery accepts. So we set our pattern file, and then we deployed the pattern file, and then we update the docs, which Aditya just showed you in the compatibility matrix. So those results actually come from here. And as you can see here, we're only testing for Linkerd destination, Linkerd identity, Linkerd proxy injector. So these assertions are made only for Linkerd control plane, because we only try to deploy Linkerd control plane. But we would want to deploy things like emoji Voto app that comes with Linkerd. So yeah, that's an open issue. And for reference, if you want to see how other sample apps work, you can go to the Istio adapter. And inside of Istio adapter, if you go to the same exact e2e test.yaml, you would find that there is actually the first three jobs over here actually do only deploy the Istio control plane. But just after that, you'll find that we also try to deploy the Grafana and Prometheus add-ons. Then we also try to deploy the somewhere around here. Yeah, we make assertions around the details, product page. So basically book info app. So we would need the same set of jobs in across all the other adapters. So if some contributor wants to work on this, I will be totally ready to assist on this thing every step of the way. This was actually on my plate, but as I got busy with other items, I couldn't take care of it. So if someone wants to work in this regard in the E2E test, ping me, or no, I mean, you can ping me on Meshery CI Slack channel, and there we can proceed with this conversation, or maybe create a discuss question or a discussion regarding this thing where we can track all these extra applications being added. And as we just as we go to add, I mean, I wouldn't waste time in discussing what mesh model components are, but basically we are ingesting all the cloud native components, and we can also test, we can also have tests running against those components. So we can test whether we can support the latest Argo, whether we can support the latest cross-plane and all those things. And since these same set of tests are also being added in Meshery, and that was also part of the agenda item, but since I already merged that PR, so I didn't talk about it. So this same set of tests are also available in the Meshery servers workflows. So yeah, these tests are going to be helpful to basically in real time tell us what are the things that we can support, what are the components that we cannot support. And the only adapter which has like these tests to testing things much better than other adapters is the Istio adapter. So yeah, we would want the consistency so that all the other adapters also have this kind of consistency. So if you're looking to contribute to workflows and GitHub Actions, you can ask for this issue to be assigned to you. And I don't think there has had to be an issue. I think it was closed due to some reason, but yeah, there should have been issues. Maybe in console, in other adapters, you would find some issues, around 20 issues here. So yeah, if there is none, then I think I should create issues. There are a bunch of places where these same things are being tracked. So yeah. So that was little about the addition of new sample app workflows, and I think we are over time. So this last, and since Antoinette is also not here, so we can discuss this item later on. And Lee, would you like to circle back to the thing that you were going to circle back to?
Yeah, I was going to, and then I figure maybe we should give people a week, or like there's some folks who are here for the first time, and so there was enough ice breaking earlier on the call. It would give people a little time to think about whether or not they want to try out that homebrew Meshery CTL challenge. So we've laid out the gauntlet on this call. Let's see who's a big enough nerd to pick it up.
Yeah. Okay, so we are 4 minutes over time. So thank you everyone for joining today's CI call. Thank you for all the newcomers for introducing yourselves. And on the right side, we do have a bunch of green and blue lights. So thank you for opening your face cams as well. That's always a little bit engaging. So yes, folks, see you on the next call, which will happen next Thursday. Up until then, bye everyone. Bye.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.